What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Unsolicited Film Reviews Podcast. We're back and ready to go after our week off. I'm Zach Miller. He is Martin Cook. And after talking about prestige movies and TV for so long, we decided that as summer winds down, we just roll around in the muck and have some fun with some of our favorite bad movies. But first, let's catch up on some industry news. We lost British actor Terence Stamp this week at 87. While not necessarily a household name or an industry legend, his career spanned nearly 7 decades, and he's definitely one of those guys where if you saw his picture, you'd recognize him. It's like, oh, it's that guy.
Yeah,
But I mean,
definitely.
he was in everything from Superman to Star Wars. Got any favorite Terence Stamp memories?
No, I mean, yeah, you mentioned Superman. He was in Superman 1 and 2. I had forgotten that he was in Wall Street until I was
Mm,
looking over his IMDb page, and also in Young Guns. So like two sort of 80s 80s movies there. And then in the 90s, yeah, like you mentioned Star Wars, that his weak and ineffectual leadership as the Galactic Republic's chancellor
yeah.
led to the downfall and the rise of the empire. So blame that on him. But no, I
Mm,
think the one that I really remember him from is the Limey, which was a bit of a smaller
mm,
movie in the late 90s, but a really good movie.
yeah. And he was named by Empire Magazine as one of the 100 sexiest film stars of all time in 1995. So good for him.
All right. Why not?
In other news, Warner Brothers has had one hell of a year. With the success of the new film Weapons, Warner Brothers has become the first studio to have 6 straight films open with $40 million plus. And those include Minecraft, Superman, F1, Final Destination Bloodlines, Sinners, and Weapons. But here's the kicker: half of them are original films.
Yes.
So next time you hear the higher ups bitching about theaters dying or the lack of original films, remember that nobody knows anything in this business.
Yeah, first rule of Hollywood, nobody knows anything.
Yep.
It's pretty incredible actually that this is a record for Warner Brothers when you think back to some of those amazing years that Disney had. But I guess Disney would still sprinkle in a few smaller movies here and there that maybe not have might not have cracked the $40 million mark. But wow, yeah, good for Warner Brothers and good sign that, as you say, half of them are original.
hmm So what happened at the box office last week?
Yeah, so we've been off for a week, so it's kind of the last 2 weeks. And as you mentioned, the big one that at the end of the summer, there's always one sort of surprise hit, and this year it's Weapons, which has sort of come out of nowhere. It made 24.5 million this weekend in its second weekend after a 43 million opening. It's already over 162 million worldwide, which I don't think even the most optimistic of people would have predicted that. And another one in its second week, coming in at second place, Freakier Friday, which was also second last week, another 14 million. It's also done really well. So there was a bit of a lull at the beginning of August, but now kind of another box office surge towards the end of the summer. Freakier Friday is over 90 million already worldwide. The only new entrant this week was Nobody 2, which made 9.3 million in its opening. It's not really doing as well as the first one. The first one made 53 million on only a $16 million budget. Now this one, it is just still the first weekend, but it's got a bit of a bigger budget, 25 million. So it's definitely not going to do as well as the last one. Fourth place, number four, Fantastic Four, another 9 million. It's up over 470 million worldwide. And fifth place, The Bad Guys 2, another sequel that isn't quite doing as well as the first one. It made 7.5 million. This is its third weekend. It's still got some time, but it's only at about 120 million worldwide, and the first one made over 250 million. So once again, sequels aren't everything, studios. Go for that original fare because the sequels aren't any guarantee of money either.
Yeah, follow the Warner Brothers models. Sprinkle in some original stuff in there.
Exactly.
So this coming week we have Ninja 2, the first animated film to reach $2 billion and the seventh highest grossing movie of all time already. And I guarantee 5% of Westerners have never even heard of the first one, let alone the second one, myself
Yep.
included.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it just goes to show the power that the Chinese market has. Crazy, 2 billion and seventh highest of all time. Yeah,
That's crazy.
I
Yep.
just had to reiterate that. It's wild. So back to the States though. Honey Don't is also releasing this week. It's a neo-noir comedy directed by Ethan Cohen with an all-star cast led by Margaret Qualley, Aubrey Plaza, and Charlie Day. And that looks like right up our alley. So I'm looking forward to get out there and seeing that one. And
Definitely.
that debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival. So I don't know if you're gonna get a chance to go out and see that one or not, but
I'm not. Oh, it debuted last year, you mean?
oh
Uh,
yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
yeah. But the next one you're going to talk about, I actually did see last year, almost exactly a year ago.
Oh, okay, cool. So the third one coming out this week in wide release is Relay. It's a thriller starring Riz Ahmed and Lily James. And it's funny because last week or 2 weeks ago when we were talking about miniseries, we were talking about like where the hell is Riz Ahmed? Why is he in more stuff? So here he is, popping up just in time.
Yeah, so this is obviously a movie since I saw it last year. They've been I don't know why they didn't find an earlier. This does happen though sometimes when things will get released in festivals and then sit on the shelf for a year. And I can't imagine they're doing a lot of post-production extra work with it.
Mm,
So I'll be curious to see this. I probably won't rush out to the theater to see it again, but I will encourage other people to do so because I really enjoyed this movie. I thought it
good,
was a fully enjoyable, well-made, well-crafted thriller. So.
good. Because
Yeah.
I love Lily James. She's one of my favorites. So
Yep.
yeah. All right. So it's hard to believe, Martin, but we've known each other for 10 years now.
That's crazy.
And while we've spent countless hours talking about movies and TV, we very rarely discuss the bad ones. So I think this will be fun.
Hmm.
But why are we doing this now? Well, the War of the Worlds remake on Prime is being lambasted as one of the worst movies ever made, but it's also top 10 on Prime as far as views goes. So, joke's on us. I mean, they're really leaning into it with the marketing campaign and everything. So, I mean, good on them. I mean, everybody loves a good bad movie, and that's why we're
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah. One of the taglines was actually, it's worse than you think. And it's hard to say whether or not that was an inside knowing joke or whether they were just totally tone deaf when they were coming up with the original marketing.
Either way, it works.
Yeah.
But what makes a bad movie? I think that it's harder to quantify that than what makes a good one
Mhm.
sometimes. Thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's a few different things. One thing we can just let's break it down into maybe three things. One is just sort of basic overall premise of the movie, which now look, a lot of movies you have to suspend your disbelief, especially if you're talking about sci-fi or fantasy or even action and even romantic comedies. But there's a point at with which the whole premise of a movie just doesn't make any sense, and it kind of hampers the movie. I think that helps contribute to a bad movie. And then the other two things would be horrible dialogue. Just that really can sink a movie if there's just no flow in the conversations that people are having, or if the dialogue doesn't really add anything to what you're already seeing on the screen in terms of the action. If people are repeating what's on the screen, like, oh, that guy's calling for help after they see the guy calling for help, that kind of thing. So horrible dialogue. And then the third thing that can really sink you is just really bad acting.
Mm.
So we'll see. Now, the movies that we've come up with, certainly some of mine don't have all of those elements. They might have one, they might have two. A few of them probably do have all of these elements. So, but we wanted to spread it around and not just do like absolutely horrible movies because we're also talking about movies that, despite the fact that we can recognize that maybe they're bad, we kind of enjoy them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why the topic is like our favorite bad movies because
Yeah.
we could just run the dregs like and how deep could you possibly go? Like we could go pick some student film from some
Okay.
random person
One of our own.
yeah. I mean, it could go to like some really dark territory, but
Yeah.
we're doing movies that people have mostly heard of at least and can relate to. But yeah, to your dialogue point, I think that's a really good point, and not just bad dialogue, but forced dialogue is
Yes.
also really bad
Yeah.
when you're just explaining what's happening as it's happening. And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, like a lot of exposition is always bad when you're just, trying to explain everything that happens before it actually happens, which is giving away the entire plot. And yeah, there's a whole myriad of reasons why a movie can go south, but it's an interesting topic to delve into.
Yeah.
So, with that, you want to kick us off on our first one? We're going to be talking about 10 this week as usual.
Yeah, so my first one I'm going to kick off with, and this is a movie that is truly bad. This is a movie called In the Name of the King, A Dungeon Siege Tale, which is already an unwieldy, ridiculous title. This is a 2007 movie directed by Uwe Boll, who's one of the kings of bad movies. This guy had to make our list somewhere, and so it's good he's on here now. It stars Jason Statham, Ron Perlman, Ray Liotta, a whole bunch of others. It's a fantasy film, apparently loosely based on the Dungeon Siege video games, which I don't know if that's enough of an IP to catch people's interest, but I guess not, because this movie was a huge flop. It only made $13 million against a $60 million budget. So why is this bad? Okay, let's just start by saying that this is probably the most hilariously miscast movie that I've ever seen. It's like they said, who would be the least appropriate person in every role in this movie? And then they
Give
found
me
that
that
actor
guy.
and put them in there. Like, even though it's a massive cast of well known actors, in addition to the three I mentioned, it's got Burt Reynolds, John Rhys Davies, Claire Forlani, Matthew Lillard, Kristanna Loken, Lily Sobieski. Like, very few of them make even a remote attempt to make their characters believable. And again, the casting is like Ray Liotta plays some evil wizard. That's terrible. Burt Reynolds is some sort of stupid king. Matthew Lillard is an arrogant duke. Like, none of this makes any sense. So the casting is absolutely horrible. And then just unbelievably bad dialogue and a stupid and convoluted plot. So this is why it definitely belongs on this list. So
Yeah.
why?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, so why could it possibly be entertaining? I think it's entertaining because it's so funny. Like, it really is a mystery what you're gonna get from one scene to the next. You have no idea which one of these actors is gonna pop up, what you're gonna get in terms of bad dialogue, who's gonna be acting as if they're acting in a totally different movie. Like, it just kind of all makes it hilarious. That's what makes this a somewhat still entertaining movie. Um, so the final question: should people watch this who haven't seen it? Almost certainly not. Like, I don't know if there's really it is funny, but I don't know if there's really much need for anybody to watch this. I will note it somehow spawned two sequels.
Mm.
I don't
Yeah.
really know
I saw
how.
I saw there was one with Dolph
Yeah.
Lundgren.
One, in fact, did start off Lundgren. And the names of the two sequels are In the Name of the King 2, Two Worlds, and In the Name of the King 3, The Last Mission. Again, horrible, stupid titles.
Mm. Yeah, I'm glad you put this one forward because this list wouldn't have any validation if it didn't have a U Bowl movie.
Yeah.
Um, I can't believe this one got by me because I'll watch literally anything in this genre, the sword and sandal slash fantasy genre. Like the Scorpion King was on my short list for this
Oh,
episode,
yeah.
if
Yeah.
that's any indication.
Yeah.
So yeah, crazy cast.
How he got this cast? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I did not think in my lifetime I would ever see a psychic sword fight between Ray Liotta and the guy who played Gimli in Lord of the Rings. Yeah, that's not on my lifetime bingo card. I was kind of sad when I saw Claire Forlani in this because I can't believe she didn't have a better career. She is just so stunning and
Yeah.
magnetic on screen, but after Meet Joe Black, she basically just fell into obscurity. It's
Yeah.
but yeah, still just absolutely beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, who's that? And I was like, oh God, that's the girl from Meet Joe Black.
Right. Yeah, it is surprising that she never had a better career, but maybe she didn't have range. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what happened in terms of her roles after Meet Joe Black.
Jason Statham still holding on to the last bit of baby bird fuzz on his head was
Yeah.
funny before he just decided, I'm a bald man.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's a fun movie. It kind of
It
reminds
is. It's fun.
it kind of reminds me of the Hercules and Xena series of the mid '90s,
Okay.
which it should come as no surprise to anyone who knows me, were some of my favorite shows growing up. And yeah, you already said why is it bad? Why is yeah, so yeah, but is it worth watching? If you're a guy like me that's a fantasy completist, maybe, and you can if you just have it on in the background for something to laugh at, because some of these performances are just insanely bad,
Yeah.
like legendarily bad from some really good actors too. So
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
weird dichotomy there.
It
But
really
yeah,
is.
we're going the complete opposite direction here into Manos, The Hands of Fate. It's a 1966 horror film by Harold P. Warren. He was a fertilizer salesman who made the film to win a bet against one of his buddies who was a screenwriter who didn't think he could actually make a movie. So Harold P. Warren
And
had
he
no
barely won the bet.
yeah, barely, very, yeah, yeah. So Harold P. Warren had no filmmaking experience, and that is painfully evident here. The acting is horrible, the dubbing is laughable, the editing is horrendous. Running out of adjectives, negative adjectives here, but the plot is actually, the plot's probably the best part of it. It's actually kind of coherent. So a couple and their daughter get lost in the Texas desert and come across the worst Airbnb ever before Airbnb was a thing. There's a creepy caretaker, a demonic cult, and a lot of cat fighting between undead wives. It made no money and fell into complete obscurity until 1993 when the show Mystery Science Theater 3000 chose to lampoon it in one of their episodes. Since it's become a cult classic and totally found a new life.
This is one, unfortunately, that I can't have much input into because I could not find the actual original version of this movie. The only thing I could find was something, and it wasn't Mystery Science Theater 3000. It was some other thing where guys were talking over and lampooning the movie during the whole thing.
Hmm.
And so like riff something.
Oh,
Anyway,
riff tracks?
yeah, it was some riff tracks version.
Those are the MST3 guys.
Oh, are they?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay, okay. But it didn't have the little
the
like
silhouettes.
the silhouette mystery center.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the same guys. Okay, so that was the only version of it I could find. And I found because I hadn't seen the original, they're talking over everything just way too distracting and I couldn't
Hmm.
and so I didn't so yeah, I don't have much to say. I only got about 25 minutes into it, but those 25 minutes were enough to realize that yes, the dubbing in particular is so hilariously bad that I don't know. I guess they just didn't have good sound when they were actually filming, and so they had to redo the sound later or something. But it's just awful.
Yeah, so why is it bad? Uh, because it's terribly made by a bunch of people that have never been in or have made a movie before. Why is it enjoyable? Basically for all those reasons as well. But it's enjoyable. Well, for me, especially because there's a bit of nostalgia value because I grew up on MST3K, and
Mm.
this is one of the best episodes of that show where it's a dude and two robots just lampooning all the bad movies that come across their feed, and it's is it worth watching? No.
Probably not. All right, let's move on. The next movie on the list is Roadhouse, which you might think, oh well, that's famous enough that it spawned a sequel with Jake Gyllenhaal, and it actually it was a fairly popular movie at the time. It's a 1989 movie, directed, I swear to God, by a guy named Rowdy Harrington.
Hell yeah.
This was his name, which makes sense that he'd direct Roadhouse. It stars Patrick Swayze, Kelly Lynch, and Sam Elliott. So why would I say this movie is bad? Well, first of all, the whole idea is basically that this guy is a really famous bouncer who's so good that he's known like across other states and he gets headhunted and recruited to go work in this dive bar and he just says yes. And it like that part just is very weird. He's called a cooler, but he's obviously pretty big on violence. It's just like every scene, he's like, basically beating guys up. His big fight move is to rip a guy's throat out. Like, I'm sorry, dude. That's just fucking murder. That's not a fight move. He's just straight up murdering people, and this is totally fine, I guess. Until the Kelly Lynch at the end doesn't want him to. Um, so many things in this movie just got firebombed. It's like anytime, oh, they needed something else to happen. All right, well, let's just set another building on fire for some reason. This was like the go-to move that just they kept using over and over again. And the police show up at the very end of the movie, and it's like, where you been?
Well, that's why they need a guy like Swayze.
Like, so, and also, it has to be said, the words roadhouse are not uttered once in the movie, and that's just a real shame. So, so all that. Why is it entertaining? Well, first of all, who isn't entertained by a choreographed bar fight? Like, they're just fun, and there's a
Hmm.
lot of them. That's like half of the movie are just choreographed bar fights. And secondly, especially for me, the music. So
Mm-hmm.
a house band in the bar where he works is real life band the Jeff Healey Band, which was a great 80s blues band fronted by Jeff Healey, who is a blind guitarist, also Canadian, I should note. And Jeff Healey was unbelievable. He was amazing. He sadly passed away a number of years ago. But if anybody likes blues, if you've ever heard Jeff Healey, go check out some Jeff Healey stuff because it's fantastic. And so his music is just constantly, and it's actually him in the scenes just playing throughout a lot of these scenes. So that's great. And also Kelly Lynch, who is a somewhat forgotten 80s movie sex symbol who, yeah, is just gorgeous in a number of movies. And then her career kind of fell off after that. Probably because people in the 90s were still like, oh, hey, she aged out. But before people were a little more reasonable about those things.
Mm.
So, should people watch this? Honestly, I rewatched this a couple of years ago and maybe not. Unless you really either like Patrick Swayze or Jeff Healey. I'm not sure that it's really necessary to watch this movie, but that's Roadhouse.
All right, I completely disagree.
Okay.
Go watch this movie. Did it age well in today's society? Fuck no.
No.
But I mean, if you can get past that, it is so much fun. Because I never saw this until maybe 2020 or so.
Oh,
But
wow.
but
Okay.
man, this one is so much fun. Yeah, of course the ripping the dude's throat out is one of the greatest things I've ever seen on film. And right before that, when they start the fight, using the line, I used to fuck guys like you in prison, is such a weird and hilarious flex.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like when I first saw that, I was dying so much. I had to like pause, rewind it. Did you really just say what I thought you said? Like it's using that as like a tough guy thing.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn. But
Hey, that's humorous.
there's so many quotable lines. I love Sam Elliott and
Yes,
it's
Sam
just
Elliott is great.
so 80s camp.
Yeah.
It's a blast. It's such a great time. You know who's not having a great time is Nicolas Cage. In our next one, The Wicker Man. It's a 2006 remake of the 70s horror classic starring Nick Cage as a Washington state trooper in search of his missing daughter, ostensibly.
Sort of.
But uh, uh, unfortunately for her, Lily Sobieski makes another appearance on this list.
Yes.
Uh, no wonder she got out of acting when she did. Like, she must have had the worst agent of all time because she's in a string of bad movies, even though she was in like she was a prominent actress in the
Yeah.
late 90s through the like the mid 2000s, but Yeah, I can't win them all, I guess. But okay. Anyway, Nick Cage travels to an island off the Pacific coast to find a pagan cult of women only. There's mystery and intrigue abound. Not really.
Sort of.
So Cage winds up in a bear suit punching women left and right in an unintentionally hilarious climax. He's sacrificed by burning alive in a giant Wicker Man. And I hope you don't care about spoilers because these aren't worth these aren't worth the tag of spoiler
No.
alert. So before I cede the floor to you, I just have to say, not the bees.
Yeah, Nick Cage, I don't know if I mean, he overacts a lot of things. That might be the worst thing he's ever done. And it's famously now obviously become a meme for good reason. Yeah, the thing about this movie is none of this was necessary. Like the whole point is to sacrifice him at the end. Why the fuck didn't they just grab him when he first got to the island? What was the whole point of letting him run around the whole time? And none of the characters really made any sense. Like you mentioned Lily Sobieski's character, and at first she's like coming on to her, she's like, "Oh, take me off the island," but then she clearly didn't want to get off the island because she's attacking him later on and part of the cult. So that didn't make any sense. An interesting side note for me that they used to have, I think it stopped now when the founder died, but they used to have a music festival called the Wicker Man Festival in Scotland that I
Hmm.
went to one year. And at the very end of it, sort of like Burning Man, but the original 1973 version of the Wicker Man was set in Scotland, and so they based it. Well, they didn't base it off of that, but at the end of the festival, they would burn this big, huge Wicker Man. And so, yeah, so I've got a little personal connection. I did go to the Wicker Man Festival, but luckily no bees. And I did not get sacrificed.
Awesome. Good for you, Martin.
Yeah.
So yeah, why is it bad? Because we already said that. Why is it enjoyable? Because it is just like it is Nick Cage after he goes off the deep end, and he's managed to recover somewhat, but especially in the aughts, like from 2000 to maybe 2015 or so, he was just doing anything he could for anytime anybody dropped a nickel, he was there to pick it up and do
Yeah.
a movie. Is it worth watching? I would say yes. If you're into these kind of movies, yeah, I would absolutely say yes.
Yes, but there's like whole parts of this movie you can just sort of fast forward because he's kind of just doing the same thing. He's running into random houses and going, where's I can't even remember his daughter's name, but and he just like he does that for about 40 minutes of this movie.
Mm.
So yeah, there's definitely some fun stuff, but some stuff can probably be skipped. And that takes us to our next one, and that is Snakes on a Plane. This is a 2006 movie directed by David R. Ellis, who notably his next three movies rated 4.0, 5.1, and 4.1 on IMDb. So this guy isn't exactly Scorsese. It stars Samuel L. Jackson, obviously, and Juliana Margulies. Now, this movie was famous before it even came out, just
Mhm.
because the name is so stupid that it got publicity because apparently Samuel L. Jackson would only agree to do the film if they kept the name. That was the title, and they were going to change it. So why is it bad? So many reasons. Again, like the premise, again, like this is going to be a common theme in some of the movies that I choose. At one point early on, the main bad guy, who we basically only ever see in the beginning of the movie and then never
Mm.
again. So it's not like he's
Mm.
an antagonist through the movie. So that's another problem. But at one point early on, he says something like, "Don't you think I've exhausted all other options?" And no, no, I don't. Like on the list of responses to a witness testifying against you, I think there's a lot of things, in between, sort of turn yourself in or shoot him and load up a whole plane full of poisonous snakes that you get from somewhere and hope that that gets the guy. Like it's anyway, bizarre. No explanation of how the snakes got there or how they got through security onto the plane or any of this. The whole movie also just basically consists of people moving to other parts of the plane and hoping that the snakes won't get them there. Like there's not until finally at the very end of the movie, again, spoiler alert, they just decide to blow a fucking hole in the side of the plane to suck the snakes out. That's basically the movie. So, why is it entertaining? Well, there are just enough known actors that can get through some of the bad dialogue and somehow make things work. Like especially the humor, as I find works in a lot of cases. But some of these actors are just on the level. They're amazing actors. We're talking, well, Kenan Thompson, but he's funny. Rachel Blanchard, David Koechner, Sonny Mabry, Elsa Pataki. So people who are known, and they're just good enough to make this a bit better than your standard B movie. And it's also enjoyable just for the hilarious and stupid ways that people are bit by
Oh my
snakes and
God.
die.
Yeah.
Like the couple joining the Mile High Club in the bathroom, where, of course, yeah, and the other guy, she gets bit. The other guy trying to take a piss in the bathroom gets bit, of course, where you expect. It's just that kind of thing over and over and over again, which can be pretty funny. Um, so should people watch this? Probably only if you're drunk or high, I would
Hmm.
say. I don't think that you really need to watch this if you're sober, but it's pretty funny if you have had a few.
Yes. I'm glad you said that. Yeah, because yeah, I've seen this 3 times and never with a clear head.
Yeah.
But I will say that this is a movie that knows exactly what it is and leans into it to its
It is good.
credit.
Yeah.
It's intentional camp at its apex. You know exactly what you're getting from the title, and it just does not disappoint. You're not going to go
There
in
are a
think,
lot of snakes on the plane.
yes. And of course, I'm tired of these motherfucking snakes on this motherfucking plane is just worth the admission price. If you go to see this R-rated Sam Jackson movie and he doesn't say motherfucker at least a couple times,
Yeah. Then what
nope.
are you doing? Yeah. Yeah, and Sam Jackson just gets to chew the scenery for, the entire movie. He's just having the time of his life making this thing because he doesn't need to try. He just needs to be himself.
Yep, 100%. So that's halfway through, and we're going to drink break.
Yeah.
Let's get a couple of Jägerbombs down here, Chief. Yeah, so I haven't done. So okay, so the impetus of this was we were going back and forth, and I was like, Martin, trying to come up with a drink here, but we're struggling. What's a good drink that's so bad that it's good? And so he came back with Jaeger, and I
So,
said, Fuck it, might as well do Jaeger bomb."
yeah.
And yeah, I haven't done one of these since I was in maybe 20, 21, 22 years old at the very oldest.
It
So
has been
this
a long
this
time for me too.
which is why I busted out the solo cup for this one.
Oh, damn. Yeah, that was a good idea. I do have
So
some paper towels here just in case this goes horribly wrong.
as do I. So this one's very simple. It's just Red Bull and Jaeger.
Yeah.
Uh,
I poured way too much Red Bull, I think.
okay. You do about a 6 ounces of Red Bull, give or take. Doesn't really matter. This isn't a classy drink by any
Yeah.
means.
It's got to be enough basically to cover the shot when you drop it in. Or
Exactly.
it doesn't even really need to because you'll be tilting it anyway, I suppose.
All right. Let's do this as a team.
Yeah, here we go.
Got it. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, ah, all right. Time for the paper towel.
I missed what happened. Did you spill the whole thing?
No, no, no. I just dropped it and it splashed all over me.
Oh.
I think I got a little Jägerbomb in my eye too. But
Cost of doing business.
it is indeed. All right. So yes,
Okay, that was not as jarring as I thought it was going to be.
I didn't actually finish mine because I had poured way too much Red Bull. But
All right, yeah, and that's your Jaeger bomb.
yeah, bad, but still kind of entertaining.
Yes, exactly.
As is the theme of the podcast this week.
All right, now we're getting into some really fun ones here. Next up, we have Batman and Robin.
All
You all right there, buddy?
right. Yeah.
It's the 1997 movie that killed the franchise, started by Tim Burton. Joel Schumacher took over the franchise after Batman Returns, and while Batman Forever was campy, Batman and Robin took it to a whole nother level. It was a financial success, but it bombed so hard with the critics that we went almost 10 years without a Batman movie. Can you imagine that these days? 10
Yeah.
years. It took a genius like Christopher Nolan to resurrect one of our most beloved superheroes. Anyway, it stars Arnold. Yes, Mr. Freeze got top billing over Batman. It stars George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Uma Thurman, and Alicia Silverstone. Now, this came out when I was about 8 years old, so I'm not embarrassed to say that I saw this movie about half a hundred times. This is before Netflix kids, so you had to watch what you had on hand.
Oh
So
yeah.
I wore that VHS out. Now, Arnold's always been keen on puns, but I don't think there's a single line in this movie where he doesn't reference the cold, the ice, or something to do with freezing.
Yeah.
He even goes as far as the historical inaccuracy. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age! After its release, Clooney started an apology tour, freely admitting that they killed the franchise. And and an indication while they were filming should have been very evident this is going to be a bad movie because before every single take of the film, Schumacher would grab his director's bullhorn and yell, "Remember, people, we're making a cartoon." So why is it bad? Because they took camp and just made it a toy commercial, essentially. Why is it enjoyable? Because it's just so outrageous. And if you compare that Batman to like the first Tim Burton Batman or any well, I mean, I guess we'll leave Zack Snyder out of this because that's a whole different discussion. But if you compare it to like Nolan's Batman or Matt Reeves' Batman, they just don't capture what Batman's all about at all in any way, shape, or form. Uh, but it's still fun, at least for me. Like, is it worth watching? I probably doubt it if you haven't seen it before and if you're a youngin or if you're not a certain age.
Yeah, unless you're a Batman completist and you
Mm.
want to just see them all. But yeah, if you're gonna watch Batman, there's so many other better Batman movies, obviously. It's funny you mentioned the dialogue that Arnold has throughout the entire movie, and it's like, I mean, this would have been before Google, so obviously the writers weren't Googling it, but it's like they sat down and spent half the time that they spent writing the movie just trying to come up with as many phrases that reference the cold as possible. And then just tried to jam them in, no matter whether they were appropriate to what was happening in the scene or not. He just kind of threw them in everywhere. But not only that, almost every line of dialogue in this movie is some sort of like common phrase that they also just threw in there. Like even the interactions between Batman and Robin, most of them are them just like saying these sayings that, oh well, I guess got a leg up, or like I don't know, I can't even think of, but it's like there's no real dialogue. It's just they cut a whole bunch of phrases and kind of stuck them together to make the screenplay for this. It's so bizarre. Um, but on the other hand, yeah, there is some of this that's just so camp that it is entertaining and enjoyable. And it's kind of funny. Uma Thurman, I don't know what she's doing in this movie. Like, it's in terms of her acting. Like, Uma Thurman can actually act, but in this movie, I don't know what she's doing, but it's intriguing as hell because it's just so bad at times, but it's
I
hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like she's the one actor in this movie that kind of owns it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. She's like, this is going to be ridiculous. I'm just going to be as ridiculous as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good on her. But yeah, I don't know if people really need to watch this. Next up, we have Armageddon. This is a 1998 movie directed by Michael Bay. Of course, we had to have Michael Bay on here. Produced by Jerry Bruckheimer, of course. And this is certainly the most successful of the movies we'll discuss. Like it was the second highest grossing movie of 1998, one of the biggest movies of the whole 90s. And a lot of people like this movie. So why is it bad, including myself? Well, this is one where we have to start with the premise, which is just absurd. The fact that they've got these oil drillers going up to get onto an asteroid and break it apart. There's a famous story of Ben Affleck
Yeah.
that was in the extras when they released the DVD of Ben Affleck telling the story of him on like early on in filming asking Michael Bay, why is it easier to train oil riggers to become astronauts than astronauts to become oil riggers? And Michael Bay's response was, shut the fuck up.
So
so
that was the end of that
so
conversation.
that was the end of that conversation. In other words, they knew from the beginning that this premise didn't make any sense. But not only that, it continues throughout the whole movie. Like very little of the plans that they make or anything makes any sort of sense. Like they talked about how, oh, all these redundancies that NASA has, and then in the very next scene, they're like, nope, this is the only plan we've got. And then it's one thing to suspend disbelief. It's another thing to defy all common sense, which this movie does repeatedly. There's a whole part where Steve Buscemi's character goes crazy for no other reason than I think they just wanted him to do weird things.
Mhm.
And so their explanation is, oh, he has space dementia. Like, sure, we'll say that's a thing. Why not? So there's just so much of that that just makes no sense and is terrible. So I think it definitely is a bad movie, but it is definitely entertaining. I love this movie, even though I recognize it's bad. Like all the actors.
Just before I forget, because
Yes.
bringing up all the inconsistencies, like
Yeah.
when the dude busts out a pistol in the spaceship,
Yeah.
the guy's like, "What are you doing with a gun in space?" Like,
No, okay, but that happens after Ben Affleck's character has blown a hole in his space shuttle to get out with the rover with a fucking Gatling gun that they
right,
put on that
right.
thing for no reason. Like, where did okay, you guys are concerned about the pistol. Who the fuck brought the Gatling gun? Where did that come from? Like it's just
I forgot about the Gatling
so yeah,
gun.
not a bit of this movie makes sense. But
like it's on Halo.
yeah,
Where you know why? You know how much fuel it takes to launch
exactly.
a pound of anything into
How
space? You're gonna
concerned
take
they are
a,
about weight. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna take a fucking Gatling gun. Oh God.
So entertaining as all hell, though, because all that stuff is funny. The actors actually do a great job of what they're doing. Like they know that they're just having fun with this. Um, the interaction between them is great. Like the characters are actually kind of fun. The dialogue's kind of funny. Like the just all the camaraderie amongst all these characters is great. The action is Michael Bay at his over the top best. Like it always looks good, it looks impressive, even when it doesn't make any sense. So it's fully entertaining from start to finish. Should people watch this? Yes, definitely yes, people should watch this movie. Even though it doesn't make any sense and is kind of terrible, it's a fun movie.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Uh, and it came out right around the same time. Like this phenomenon happens in Hollywood all the time. It came out around the same time as Deep Impact,
Yeah.
which is objectively a much better film. But come on, Armageddon is just so much more
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It's another one I've seen at least 20 times. Uh, Pearl Harbor was on my short list as well, so I'm glad
Oh,
at least
yes.
one Michael Bay, Ben
Yeah.
Affleck collaboration made it here. Had a killer soundtrack too, and
Yeah.
"Don't Want to Close My Eyes" by Aerosmith was that year's love anthem.
Mhm.
Uh, this movie is Michael Bay's wet dream, gets to blow up major cities and ends with blowing up an asteroid the size of Texas with a nuclear bomb.
Yeah. This is the movie he was made to. He was born
Yeah,
to direct.
seriously. I always thought it was weird how the meteors somehow knew to target major cities and landmarks, but who gives a fuck? And even the opening with Eddie Griffin and his French bulldog was hilarious
Yeah.
because all of New York is destroyed. He's got his little Frenchie. He's trying to pull out of this little crater. He's like, "Somebody call 911," as if not all the emergency
Yeah,
vehicles in
yeah, they're
this.
not busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Uh,
also a funny little dig there too, because the other big movie that summer was Godzilla.
oh right.
And so in that little scene, his Frenchie's going after these Godzilla toys and like trying to rip them apart and stuff. And so that was obviously their subtle dig at the other big summer blockbuster.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that was a good pickup. Yep. All right, so let's keep the fun rolling with 90s camp and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. It's a 1995 movie based on the insanely successful Fox Kids TV show, which in turn was based on a Japanese show that they just completely ripped off and replaced all the live action with American actors. But for kids of a certain age, obviously of which I'm one, Power Rangers were nothing short of fucking ubiquitous. Toys, backpacks, lunchboxes, Halloween costumes, you name it, Power Rangers capitalized on it. If you had the latest action figure or a complete Megazord, you were the cock of the walk. I mean, Power Rangers merch was a status symbol for sure for when I was in kindergarten and first grade. Little did I know that if I'd kept all those toys in their boxes, I'd be a multimillionaire by now. But
Damn, yeah.
there's no fun in not playing with toys, though. All that to say, this movie was guaranteed to make money on the brand alone, no matter what the script or the story or whatever. If you're completely unfamiliar, Power Rangers are six teenagers in their 30s who are given super. They're given
Maybe
superpowers
Joe
to,
Johnson might have been 25, but yeah.
and they're given superpowers to fight aliens. No real point in covering the plot here. I will say that this is a great time capsule for the 90s, though. It starts out with a skydiving sequence with the main Power Ranger on a snowboard. He's skydiving on a snowboard. Like the 90s were like the decade of extreme. But then it immediately cuts to a rollerblading sequence, and all while wearing the proper safety gear, of course.
Yes.
I was in this rewatch kind of surprised that there wasn't more product placement. I really thought somebody was gonna be chugging Sunny D or somebody like pass me the Capri Sun. um, Amy Jo Johnson, who plays Kimberly the Pink Ranger, was my first ever crush. And I took way too many notes for this one, but I'll just say that from Red Hot Chili Peppers to Van Halen, the soundtrack fucking kicks ass.
Mm.
Why is it bad? Dialogue's terrible, acting's terrible. The CGI is horrific. It's early days for CGI, so not completely their fault, but yeah, terrible VFX. Why is it enjoyable? Because if you grew up in the era that I did, it's a staple that you could not avoid. I was gonna say a water cooler, but kids didn't really gather around the water cooler, the water fountain maybe.
What about
Yeah. Is it worth watching? No. If you haven't seen it before, no, it's not worth watching at all.
So yeah, so I was a bit old for the Power Rangers, so I did never really got into them, never. But I obviously knew what they were and kind of what the deal was. And I had seen this movie before, but I remember when I saw it because I didn't watch the TV show.
Mm.
I like all the little subtle things that obviously come from the TV show and come from maybe the dubbing of the Japanese version or something didn't really make sense to me. Like, why? I'm gonna make a point now, and I'm moving my arms like this for
Oh,
no
and
apparent reason.
it always makes the whoosh noise. Anytime they move their arms, it's always.
But whenever they're in the Power Rangers thing, they're like, "Yes, I'm gonna make go over here." I just anyway. Amy Jo Johnson, absolutely agree. Um, I was like the whole time watching this again. The two sort of henchmen, like the one that's like a pig and the other one with the wings.
Yeah.
Um, I kept being reminded of that line from Office Space that what would you say it is that you would really do here?
Yeah,
They
that is
don't do
completely fair.
anything. They're just there to, I guess, agree with whatever the bad guy at the moment says. Like, they're just anyway. So yeah, there's a lot of this that's absolutely ridiculous. And so because I didn't watch the TV show, this wasn't for me. It's bad. It wasn't so bad though that it was painful to watch. I will say that. Like it's entertaining enough, just as you say, with all the crazy action stuff that the skydiving and the whatever else. It's yeah, it's definitely for people of a certain generation, as you said.
And okay, just to defend the TV show,
Okay.
the pig was made out of whole cloth just for the movie.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
the kids that grew up with Power Rangers were just as confused as you were. The
He
wing
doesn't do a
guy,
damn thing the
no,
entire movie.
the wing guy Goldar was one of the original villains, but he also didn't do anything. But I just yeah,
Okay.
the pig was stupid. None of us liked the pig. That's for
Okay.
sure.
All right. And the next one we've got is we're going back to the well with Nicolas Cage. And this is Face Off. So this is a 1997 movie directed by John Woo, starring Cage and John Travolta. This is another one. Made a lot of money, super popular. People liked it. Why is it bad? Well, again, it's just a completely ridiculous movie. The premise is absolutely absurd. Like even if we suspend our disbelief that this procedure is possible, which all right, for anybody who hasn't seen it, they don't know what it is. They literally swap the faces of the bad guy and the main FBI agent who's trying to capture him for some reason so he can infiltrate his gang or something. And not just swap his face, but his entire they I don't know. Basically it's kind of like a body takeover thing, but with actual face
With
swapping.
science.
Science. Yes, there's a science to this. But again, so like even if you accept that this procedure is possible, this is really the best that they've got to get info on where a bomb is located, which is presumably why they're doing this. Like they've been tracking these guys. They can't backtrack on their movements and figure out who they've talked to and where they might have put this bomb. Basically, these are just terrible cops or FBI. I can't even remember which they are. They're either
FBI.
FBI, yeah. They're just terrible FBI agents. And there's just so many ridiculous things. Like at one point, a guy's playing chicken with a jet while he's in a Jeep. There's
Mm.
just all of for anybody who's not familiar, all of the John Woo classics are in this movie. Just tons of slow motion for no reason. Lots of doves and birds
Yes, the doves. You gotta
flying
have the
off into the
doves.
sky all over the place. Guys spinning around with guns. Like, it just, all that kind of stuff is in here and completely ineffectual. There's also some creepy stuff in here with Travolta's character's teenage daughter that we don't really need to go into. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that make this basically a bad movie. So again, why is it entertaining? I think because, in part, because of all the above, but also this might be the most Nick Cage of all Nick Cage performances.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just so over the top because they basically told him, look, your character is a little crazy and can kind of do what he wants. So Nick Cage was like, perfect. So I'm crazy. I'm gonna go do what I want. He's like, he's, talking about eating peaches. I don't know what's happening in
Could eat
this
a
movie.
peach for
I could eat
hours.
a peach. He's like, yeah. And it's him playing, Travolta playing him,
Hmm.
if you got that right. And likewise, so it's Travolta and Nick Cage trying to sort of outact each other by playing versions of them playing versions of themselves. So that in and of itself is just entertaining because these two guys who were two of the biggest stars of the 90s and probably still some of the biggest names in Hollywood just going toe to toe, trying to outact each other, trying to be more ridiculous in one scene to the next than each other. All that is just a lot of fun. So should people watch this movie? Hell yes. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I fucking love this movie. It's I'm noticing right now that this is our fourth straight 90s movie, but
Yeah.
it just goes to show how great that decade was for film. I mean, we already did episodes on the best movies of 94 and 99, but there's also plenty of rooms for gems like these.
Yep.
And yeah, Nick Cage was still walking that fine line between prestige, action, and full on just don't give a fuck camp. And this was probably the tipping point.
I think so. Yeah.
When he went full bore into the latter. Yeah, so many great set pieces. Uh, even the last one with the boat chase and
Yes.
and
The,
while
the whole prison thing
oh
on
yeah,
on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean.
yeah with the magnetic boots and
Yeah, which is like kind of sci-fi. And where did that come from? Again, yeah, getting to the like the premise, like it's supposed to be normal present day, but then they just throw in these random sci-fi things that okay, sure, you accept the face thing. Oh, but then they also have these futuristic supermax prisons in that. Okay, fine. It just we weren't quite sure what world we're in. It does matter. It's a fun world.
Yeah, like the U.S. government would spend that much on boots for prisoners. It's like, no, fuck it, let them all kill each other. That's our way. But yeah, while silly as you say, the premise is executed to perfection in its own way. Like not not in any way like good, but it's to its logical conclusion, it's
Yeah.
executed. And one of my favorite parts is the constant use, and it's the only way that people can tell that John Travolta is still John Travolta's character is
Right.
the face waterfall that he does with all his loved ones. And for the listening audience, it's just dragging your fingers across somebody else's face on downward motion.
Yes.
Like that's how
This is meant to be an endearing gesture, by the way, for anybody who hasn't
yes.
seen this movie.
Yeah, he does it to his dead son. Oh yeah. Oh, let me bring that up real quick because I didn't have that in my notes.
Oh,
How about just replacing your dead son with a kid of similar age from your sworn enemy at the very end? I completely forgot about that until
yeah.
just now.
That's right. He just shows up at the door, and his wife and daughter are like, "Yeah, okay, bring the kid in."
Yeah. Oh, replacement son slash brother, of course. God damn. Yeah,
I forgot
okay.
about that entirely.
Yeah, but yeah, is it worth watching? 100%. This is a 90s classic.
Yeah.
And that brings us to our very last one. And it needs to be talked about last because this is another one I had way too many notes for. I could spend a whole podcast on this bad boy, but we're going to be talking about The Room, of course.
You could eat a peach for hours. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Give me a page. How would you like to swallow my tongue? Okay, The Room. It's the 2004's The Room, not to be confused with 2015's Room that actually won
Yes.
awards. But this is widely considered to be the king of bad movies. Written and directed by visionary auteur Tommy Wiseau. The plot is who the fuck knows? Not even Tommy Wiseau knows.
No.
It's a $6 million shit show that could have been made for about $1,000. If one set out to make a bad movie, one could not do better or worse than The Room. But from overly long gratuitous sex scenes to characters that completely disappear without any resolution to just god awful yet hilarious dialogue, The Room is a masterpiece in failure. Because of that, it's become a massively successful cult classic with screenings across the world becoming just event viewing, complete with plastic spoons and football games and people in uh, uh, meticulously disheveled tuxes.
Right. Yeah.
uh, yeah, I have become obsessed with this movie, and I even have a script that I should have displayed behind me that of The Room signed by Tommy Wiseau.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, just it spun off into The Disaster Artist, starring James Franco and Dave Franco as Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, respectively. And Greg Sestero also wrote a book called The Disaster Artist, which the Disaster Artist movie was based on, and just man, what a weird place in culture to have.
Yeah, it really is. It's as you say, it is just so bad. But an interesting thing, like if you go and you watch The Disaster Artist, Tommy Wiseau didn't set out to make a comedy.
Mm,
But what's interesting is sort of the moment at which this became something more than just a movie, that it became a real cultural phenomenon, was when people started going to these screenings and just realizing that it's so bad that it's fucking hilarious. And it took a while, and maybe it's not entirely clear if he still gets it, but it took a while that for Tommy Wiseau
mm.
to understand that it's funny and that's what people are reacting to, but maybe not funny in the way that he meant it to be. But that it has made it, and it's made him kind of a household name in Hollywood, even though he's, obviously never really going to do anything else that's of significance. Yeah, but it's the movie has made its money back now because of all these screenings over the years. Um, he's signing autographed copies of the scripts. Yeah, we couldn't make a list of favorite bad movies without talking about this. I've only seen it once, the original, and it took me a while to watch it. I actually didn't even see it until I was in LA in film school.
Mm.
Like we didn't watch it in film school, but just everybody had been talking about it. I was like, oh, I've never seen this movie, so I went out and watched it, and it is definitely something that people should watch if they enjoy. It's not even like a Schadenfreude because it's not like you're laughing it at him necessarily or at the actors. It's just such an astoundingly bad piece of work that it has become famous for that. And so if you get any sort of enjoyment out of just finding joy in this, in, as you say, the most colossal of failures, then you should watch this movie because it's crazy and horrible, but fully entertaining if you can just see it for what it is and the broader context of what it's become culturally.
Yeah, and it's unique because Wiseau is so earnest about his project here,
Yes.
and like if he was just like going out to make a comedy or something like that, then it would never it would.
I assume at this point Zach's getting his thing, but he's getting a little away from the mic, so I'll talk on now while he comes back. You're getting
And
your copy there.
yeah, and yeah, if he wasn't being earnest and honest in what he was trying to make, it would come across as corny and fake. And well, it
Right.
still comes across as corny, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's his dedication to his, do we call it craft, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Like if he had any sort of arrogance or pretense about it and the fact that he's become famous because of it, then it wouldn't be as enjoyable because it's just you're right. It's his earnestness that's kind of endearing, the fact that he's so happy he made this thing.
So yeah, we already illustrated why is it bad. It's enjoyable just because it's absolutely hilarious from beginning to end, and even from the very beginning, there are two title cards that are for the same company because he started Tommy Wiseau Productions, and it says, like most movies they'll say like Universal and then a sub company and then another sub company, but it's like Tommy Wiseau Productions and then very next Tommy Wiseau Productions, but just in a graphically different way. So it's, and then yeah,
Yeah, who knows
the
if he forgot or he just couldn't decide which one he liked better, so he decided to add them both.
anyway, here is proof positive of the room script.
That is awesome.
And this is a fucking yeah, 114 pages of but it's not even front and back. So it's just a waste of paper. But it's
Wow.
it's it's one of my treasure possessions and just
That is amazing. The old school Brads and everything.
yeah, so is it worth watching? 100%.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed us rolling around in the filth that is bad movies. That was a fun one.
That was fun.
That was nonstop laughs.
Yeah.
But next week, we're going to be talking visual effects. The famous digital studio started by George Lucas, Industrial Light and Magic, just turned 50. If you see anything with any major studio production that has visual effects in it, it usually goes through Skywalker Ranch and Industrial Light and Magic. So we're going to cover the best and worst in CGI next week, and that should be a fun one too. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Zach Miller. He's Martin Cook, and we'll see you next week on the Unsolicited Film Reviews Podcast.
Bye, everyone.